Chiefs versus Bills for the divisional win comes down to one thing. Stay in your wheelhouse, run your game, and get the job done. We're going to go through it all today on Locked On Chiefs.
From the land of the free and the home of the Chiefs, this is the Locked On Chiefs podcast.
Back to Locked On Chiefs, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. That means your team every day, folks. And it is a Friday as we get ready for a divisional playoff game. We're brought to you by PrizePicks. And right there, you can get the easiest and most exciting way to play daily fantasy sports right at prizepicks.com/LockedOnNFL. Use our code LockedOnNFL. That's all lowercase. You're going to get a first deposit match of up to $100. Today, we have a great show to go through because we get another round of competition with the Buffalo Bills, one that goes a very, very long way. Check out this video. We start here on YouTube where you can like and sub and hit the bell. That will get you the next video that comes out. We will be live post-game, so make sure you check that out. Get on the audio platforms as well at Spotify, as well as Apple, as well as anywhere you can get a free show. You're going to get us 5 days a week plus, especially in the offseason. There'll be extras, and you can get even more at the text line at 816-357-8781. For all you locos, we appreciate you every day that listen. You can get more there. We're going to go through the matchups and the predictions that you have to have coming up here. We're going to get to the keys that can take this team to an AFC title game and get back to where they belong. I'm Ryan Tracy, the founder of Rogue Analytics and Performance Consulting, NFL33.com, as well as RGRfootball.com. My partner, Chris Clark, runs Chiefs Corner, where you can get all the QB as well as the offseason capology, everything you want to know about team building. You can find at these two sites. We've been doing this a long time, 8 years on this show, and over pushing 15 for me covering this team. Welcome. We're going to start today with what they must do to get their game done. And for me, it is just more of the same. Keep it simple. Play your game. They showed you how to do it last week against the Dolphins, even in the cold. And it's for me about being confident in what you do and not getting over concerned about what the opponent does. Where are you at?
No, I think you're absolutely right. I think the biggest thing that you look at in this whole scenario is the Chiefs took it to the Dolphins in both phases in all three phases, really, the last time they played. And I think that's really the big thing that you have to take away from that. If they play their game, if they play how they want to play offensively, if they play how they want to play on defense, you can do both those things against this Bills team and you can beat them. But you have to play your game. You have to focus on what you do well and take away some of the things that you struggled with this year. And one of the biggest things that I think that you look at going into this game is Patrick Mahomes said during the week this week that one of the big things to him is he's finally gotten to a point where he realizes it's okay to throw the ball away and punt, or throw the ball away and take a field goal. Yes, you want to score a touchdown, and I get that. Absolutely, you want to score touchdowns, but it's okay to do the other, because you don't want to force something and give up points off the board or worry about having to chase something later because you turn the ball over.
That's the number one key. And we're going to get to keys of the game coming up in the next segment, folks. But I mean, just every single thing boils down to this. Don't give away possessions. Zero turnovers. That's the goal for the Kansas City Chiefs. Whether it is in Patrick making those, call them more mature situations with the ball, make those decisions that don't put you in harm's way, or whether it's just simply maintaining what you're already doing in playing to your strengths. Young wide receiver core, we've talked about it all season long. Just let them do what they do well. Run the damn ball, Andy. Really, really simple. They showed you how to do it against the Bengals in the regular season. Obviously, last week against the Dolphins. There's no reason, especially with the functionality or the lack in certain positions of functionality, with the Buffalo Bills defense, much as I talked about that with Joe Marino yesterday. If you missed that show, go back and check out the crossover. Joe and I got on to it about the defenses. It just comes down to that. You don't have to be special. You have to be methodical. You have to be efficient, and you have to not make mistakes. Bottom lines.
Yeah. And if they could do that, I think they win this game. And I think it's going to be a situation where they're going to be going, either they'll host the next game or they'll be going to Baltimore to play the Ravens. I think that if they have the ability to stay in, I hate saying it this way, but it's the reality. If you stay in your own lane, if you do what you know you can do, and you do what you've been successful at and stay there, you're going to be fine in this game. The last time they played the Bills, they didn't have Drew Tranquill. They didn't have Isaiah Pacheco. Didn't have Donovan Smith. It looks like Smith is going to be back this week, or is still going to be playing this week and probably going to be the starter. And, Wanya Morris took a step back in practice. He may not be available. So that's going to be something to watch there too. But there's so much going into this game that goes in Kansas City's favor. I don't care that it's in Buffalo. Home field advantage, okay, great. Mahomes actually has better numbers on the road than he does at home. I mean, that's just the reality of how he plays. And he knows what he has to do going into this game. As long as they're able to stay ahead of the chains, which we've talked about all year, they'll be fine going against the Bills.
Yeah. And I think you hit a good one. It's one that's been kind of grinding on my brain all week long. And that is like Patrick Mahomes is to the point now, much like Tom Brady was, where you just got to make stuff up to stay motivated, right? Well, I think this whole storyline of never had to go on the road and win a playoff game, can he really do it, is the kind of stuff that drives him, that makes him step up and not throw the ball away carelessly and not make that extra pump that he doesn't have to. Just get the job done so he can shut everybody up about it.
And I'm sure Bobby Stroop is showing him that Dan Orlovsky said he's the third best quarterback left in the or in the playoff field. We'll see how that plays out. That generally isn't going to play out very well for people, but it comes down to just execution. And if you execute, if you do what you need to do and you take care of the ball, you're going to be in this game and you should win it. Your defense, and that's the other thing that doesn't make sense to me. I also saw, I think it was somebody from the 33rd team saying that the Bills have a better defense than the Chiefs. Are you kidding me? Seriously? Like, that's not something that I can get behind at all. And I don't think that that's going to be what shows up on Sunday. I mean, regardless of the injuries the Bills are dealing with, the Chiefs defense has been better than the Bills defense has been all season.
Yeah, it comes down to a well-rounded game. What are the keys to get that done? We're going to go through them because there are a number of them. And later, stay here with us for the matchups that individuals have to win, plus our predictions. Right now, going to give you a message from some of our pals that are going to help you get some things done that you need to get done. Passion, drive, and patience. What brings home the winning trophy is also what keeps your ride or die alive. eBay Motors has everything you need to maintain your vehicle and to keep it at that peak performance that you're looking for. From superchargers, roof racks, all kinds of bits, pieces, LED headlights, and the like, whether it's speed, power, or style that you're looking for, eBay Motors has you covered. With over 122 million parts for your number one ride or die, you'll always find exactly what you need and what you're looking for. And with eBay's guaranteed fit, your part is guaranteed to fit your vehicle every time, first time, your money back. Because eBay Motors, you're burning rubber, you're not burning cash. You're getting down the road and you're taking care of yourself while you do it with all the parts that you need and the prices that you want. It's easy to turn your car MVP and bring that home for a win. Keep your ride or die alive at ebaymotors.com. Eligible items only. Exclusions do apply, but eBay Guaranteed Fit is only available for U.S. customers. And after you have that fit, you want to use that money to get in the action. The regular season has come and gone, and now it is prime time playoff football. Right now is the best time to get into it with FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. Right now, new customers get $150 in bonus bets guaranteed when you place just a $5 bet. So just $5, and you get 150, win or lose, all on the line at the same time. Use the app. It's super simple. It makes everything easy to find. There are different ways to get into the action, whether it's a same game parlay or a parlay hub that'll show you all kinds of combinations. You have the new Explore tab to find the bets that you want to get on, money lines, props, whatever you're looking for. So visit FanDuel.com/lockedon and make your first bet a layup at FanDuel, the official partner of the NFL. We talked motivation. We talked what the overarching concept is to get this W in the books. Great conversation with Joe the other day, and it comes down to the fact that you know each other pretty well. And it does come down to the tiniest of details at this point to try and get not just what could be, a 6-yard pass, but it's complete that 6-yard pass and turn it up for 2 and get a little bit of yak, right? It's hit Rasheed just so that it's perfectly placed so he can stay in stride and not have to throttle it all. It's those little details. So for me, it's execution in particular when you're running your playbook. And I don't mean to slant this just to the offense, but in particular, it's the running game. because I think they've shown that they have the ability to run power better, to get in and get after it. But it's also something that if you make an explosive in the run game, it has a little bit more physical value in these temperatures this time of year than an explosive in the pass game. And I think the Buffalo defense has really shown that as well. If you can get them on them physically with that run, you're going to make a lot of space for yourself.
Color be shocked you're talking about the run game early on.
I know. What are you going to do?
It's the way it is. When I look at this, I understand why you say the run game is important, and I don't necessarily disagree with you. The one thing I would say is that I expect Kansas City to do something that maybe Buffalo isn't expecting. And what I mean by that is maybe they get in a scenario where they bring in a sixth person and they start running the ball a little bit more early on. Maybe they try to take it to the Bills that way. If you look at what happened in the Dolphins game, Kansas City surprised the Dolphins by coming out and passing. I don't think the Bills are going to expect them to come out and run the ball a lot. I think they're going to expect them to pass. I think they're going to expect that they're going to stay with the game plan that won them against the Dolphins. I'm not saying that they have to run all the time, but if you can trot out Nick Allegretti or Wanya Morris, if he's able to go and have a little bit of success early and get the running game going and get to a point where maybe you run it, 60% of the time the first drive versus 40% the rest of the game, that sets a tone for how the defense is going to have to play you, and it's going to wear that defense out quicker, especially in those temperatures.
Yeah, I completely agree with you. I think you walk out on the field for the first play, and the Buffalo Bills defense has to expect, even if you line up in 6-0 line, 12 personnel, they're expecting play action pass. At the bottom line, they're expecting pass. So give them what they're not. Go ahead and hit that. And I hope that they run power right off the go. Just hit a nice duo gap, attack the linebackers who, there's no Matt Milano out there. You can make some hay in the second level. And then you get to the safeties. The safeties are obviously a strong point here. There's a lot of injuries at corner for them. But that middle of the field, you can attack it and then get out to the edges. I don't know that you have to run pitch. I don't know that you have to try to run a ton of wide receiver screens. But I do think as the game goes on, those things will come into fortuity, because I think you're going to see the Bills have to get after it a little bit more blitz and a little bit more gap scheme up front, twists, stunts that they're going to have to do to get at Patrick. That's when I think the screens come in. And I think they've been running screen better as of late. I think they have to double down on that as well, particularly to Rashee Rice, and actually get him a look where he is the recipient, not the guy out front. The screen's going to be important.
Yeah, I think the screen game could be important in this game. I think that if you can get to the point where you're using Rashee Rice as your guy that is going to be blocked for versus blocking the guy that's doing the blocking, I think you're going to be in a great position. But I also would say that you saw a lot of what I think you can use Rashee Rice for in this game last week with what he was doing against the Dolphins. Because if you start talking crossers and you start talking about linebacker injuries, you put him in the slot and give him the ability to run those crossing routes, he's going to get open. I mean, that's just the reality. Depending on, obviously man or zone, doesn't really matter. He's going to beat man coverage if he's lined up with a linebacker. He may struggle a little bit more against a corner, but if you're still talking about crossing routes, they're usually going to be running behind him, and it doesn't have to be a fantastic throw. It just needs to be in front of him. If Mahomes can lead him, I think that's something that he could take advantage of. You look at other things in this game that are going to be huge keys for Kansas City. Obviously, not having Drew Tranquill hurt last time around, not having Isaiah Pacheco hurt last time around. They're going to have both those guys in this game. And it does matter for the running game, as we already talked about with Pacheco. But when you start looking at a guy like Drew Tranquill that can come in and do the things he's been able to do for Kansas City, it could be even bigger. Because you start thinking about, okay, well, are they going to have Drew Tranquill in a little bit more than maybe they're going to have a Leo Chanel or Willie Gay in, just because they're going to be matching him, trying to get him matched up against Cook? Or is that the matchup that they want to have? Because you watch Cook coming out of the backfield, catching the ball, or even the way he runs. I mean, it's all part of the Buffalo game plan to get him involved. If they can get the running game involved, that's a big problem for the Chiefs. So I do think that Tranquill being back is a huge key for this game, and it can change the way that Kansas City's defense attacks the Buffalo offense.
And those are the bigger parameters, the overall goals. What are the individual matchups that have to be won? We're going to get to those, as well as our predictions coming up right after this, how you can get into the action another way.
PrizePicks is the largest daily fantasy sports platform in North America. PrizePicks is the most fun I've had, winning up to 25 times my money this football season. You just select 2 or more players, pick more or less on their projected stats, and place your entry. Whether it's Christian McCaffrey for over 75 yards or Patrick Mahomes for more than 2 passing touchdowns, there's lots of different things that you can be looking at when it comes to PrizePicks and winning some money this weekend. You can go test your skills on PrizePicks this football season in the most exciting way to play daily fantasy sports. If you have the skills, you can turn $10 into $250 with just a few taps. PrizePicks now offers Apple Pay for quick and easy deposits into your account this football season. Go to prizepicks.com/lockedonnfl and use code LockedOnNFL for a first deposit match up to $100. That's prizepicks.com/lockedonnfl and use code LockedOnNFL for a first deposit match up to $100. PrizePicks, daily fantasy sports made easy.
It comes down to individual efforts, just like it does here at the Locked On Podcast Network. Make sure you're checking out the Locked On Sports Today show. That's a lot of fun. You can get that show plus the full stream over at the 24/7 channel here on Locked On, where you can get all of the information that you need, particularly in this playoff round. So check that out, as well as subscribing to all the other shows around the network, because there's a plenty of information coming everywhere. The matchups for the individuals, this is where the rubber hits the road, so to speak. And it comes down to a couple of position groups for me that I think are really, really key. And I don't think that I can harp on this enough. You mentioned Cook in the last segment and what he's able to do. It is certainly significant, and I give him no doubt of that. But what it comes down to right now is O'Cyrus Torrence, their right guard, along with old friend Mitch Morse, and who they're going to have to try to double and move out of the way to give Cook room to move, because it doesn't look like Derek Nott is going to be able to go. Missed practice both days to this point this week. That is a bad omen. Is it Turk Wharton that steps up in there? He'll certainly be on the field, but he's not a run stopper. Mike Pennell's been elevated the last couple of weeks. I expect that. Isaiah Buggs is a new signing. I wonder if they don't bring him up right now. The guy's got the size and he's got the run stopping ability is his forte. I would like to see him on the field this week, because taking away Cook is job number 1 in the game plan.
Well, and when you look at that, I think Pennell might be out of elevations at this point. If he's out, you have to maybe consider bringing him up to the active roster and putting on Derek Nottie on IR. And I think that actually is something that they're considering. Generally speaking, the Chiefs haven't put people on IR until Saturday for a Sunday game, and then they activate whoever they're going to activate. So that's something to watch. Is that going to be something that they do? We'll see. Isaiah Buggs is another guy that, like you said, that could be somebody that they bring up to try to help stop the run. It should not be Tershawn Wharton. He's going to get on the field, but that's not going to be his forte, and that's asking him to do something that he's not built for. His body is not built to be that run-stuffing defensive tackle. So I think you have to either bring up Pennell or maybe bring up Pennell to the active roster and you activate Buggs too. I mean, that's possible in this game. If you stop the run, you're going to make them try to pass. The problem is that Kansas City's passing defense is better than their running defense, and good luck against that. So you start looking at the matchups. Normally you'd start looking at it and say, okay, well, who's going to take on Stephon Diggs? I don't think that's a question anymore. They're going to put L'Jarius Sneed on Diggs, and I'm not going to say he's going to shut him down, but I feel pretty good about how he's going to do against him. I don't think it's going to be a situation where he doesn't catch the ball at all, but he wasn't really targeted when you talk about man-to-man coverage, and the physicality that he brings is going to be a problem. So it's really going to be the other players for Buffalo, and that was one of the questions that I was wondering. It looks like Gabe Davis is probably going to miss this game too. And if he misses this game, that's a huge hit to their offense. Don't get me wrong, Khalil Shakir has been playing well for them. He can be something that is going to give Kansas City a problem, but not having Gabe Davis is also going to give Kansas City a better chance to slow this team down defensively. When you start looking at it, to me, it's really more of a question of, I know we like to go player matchups. I'm going to go Josh Allen versus Spagnuolo. And the whole reason I'm saying that is because of what Spagnuolo did last week to Tua. And I understand they're two different quarterbacks. Josh Allen has a lot more experience. I get all that. But how do you show up? How do you play defense? What packages do you run out there? Are you using rotating safeties like they used against Tua last week that make it look like it was single high and then it went to two high and then single high again? I'm sure you're going to do some of that with Josh. Are you going to go to two defensive linemen going after the quarterback? That's obviously, you and I talked about that. You don't think that they should do it. I'm not going to be shocked if they do it on 3rd and long. As long as they have somebody in there as a spy, it doesn't really matter to me. You can give up the middle of the field to an extent. If you have a spy and you're double covering everybody else, I think you can do that type of thing. So what does Spagnuolo throw at Josh Allen? Because he knows his players on defense can do whatever they're asked to do at this point, and he knows exactly what they can do, so he can put them in the best position to succeed.
Well, and I'll give you one more wrinkle too, because it was on last week's film in a couple of plays. You might see a 3-4 look out of the Chiefs defense because that's going to throw their run game out of whack. It is a possibility. I've talked about it all season long. The influence of Joe Cullen will show up eventually, and there will be some 3-4 plays in there that has the ability to shut down the run. And that's what I think is probably the best part of what we haven't seen yet, is that's going to put Josh Allen in a decision point to either modify the play or take it himself. And that's something I think they'll be prepared for. So that matchup is certainly a key one. The last one for me is going to be the outside defenders, because right now, as we look at the injury report from today, it is still Taron Johnson limited with the concussion protocol. It is Christian Benford out with his knee. The corners are still susceptible for the Buffalo Bills. So it comes down to what I think is going to be not just Rashee Rice, because as you mentioned, I do think the slot is a good spot for him, but who takes advantage on the outside? I don't think we're going to see Sky Moore. I don't know that we're going to see Kadarius Toney. So who can take advantage? I think it's going to be Watson. Inexperience is the one thing that I think he's easily beating right now. He has that experience. He does have the long speed. The question is going to be, can he concentrate and hang on to the ball? That's fine. We'll have to see who steps up, because everything else points to it being Rashee Rice, Travis Kelce all day long. You got to have that third option.
So I just want to go back really quick and say one other thing about Josh Allen versus Spags. You have to hit him, and you have to hit him early, and you have to continually hit him the entire game. In my last matchup, when I look at this game, though, is you look at the different ways that this team has been playing and the different things that they can do on offense. And I think that you talked about the screen game just a little bit earlier. I'm not even necessarily talking about screen game. Use Pacheco, use Clyde Edwards-Helaire in the passing game. Use them out of the backfield in the passing game. They're going to be going up against linebackers that are Buffalo's second, third, maybe even fourth string, depending on who's on the field for the Buffalo Bills at the time. They are decimated at that position. Take advantage of that as much as you possibly can. You've got two guys that can catch the ball out of the backfield really well, and Clyde is better than most people in the NFL, and he just hasn't gotten a chance to do that very much. Use that to your advantage this week.
Yeah, I would use as much creativity as you could from your position players. That brings us to where we're at predicting this ball game. It's not going to be anywhere near as cold in either sideline as it was last week for them. So I do think that the rails come up a little bit, but in the end, I don't think it's as high scoring a game as we saw maybe the last couple times these teams have met. I think the Chiefs understand how they have to do, and I feel like the Chiefs are on the way up. They're still yet to peak, whereas I do feel the Bills have been playing well, but I'm not so certain that they have a lot more upside in them. I think this comes down to a wire, and it's a barn burner again. I have the Chiefs winning 28-27.
I understand why you're saying that as a score, and I get it. I just haven't seen this Chiefs defense give up that many points this season, and I don't think they do in this game either. I think that they hold the Bills to 21 at most, and it's the question of, can Kansas City score more than 21 points in the game? And as long as their offense is clicking, yeah, you don't like kicking field goals instead of taking touchdowns, but if they can score on 6 possessions, and even if they're getting just field goals, I think that they can still win the game regardless, just because of how good their defense is. So in my scenario, I think the Chiefs are going to win. I'm going to still say it's 24-21 or 24-20, somewhere around there. But Kansas City wins this game because I think that they have the better offense, and they absolutely have – well, sorry, not the better offense, the better defense. And their offense is playing well enough and starting to find things as they go along, and I think that's what makes the difference in this game.
Love to know what you guys think. Leave your comments down below with your score predictions, as well as who do you think is going to be the MVP of this game. The Chiefs make it. They get this win. They move on to the AFC Championship game. Stop me if you've heard this before. That's one of their primary goals every single season. We think that it gets done. What do you think? make sure that you like, sub, and hit the bell here on YouTube, as well as signing up, getting subscribed on Spotify, Apple, and any audio platform that you like, because we are everywhere all the time, 5 days a week for you guys here on the Locked On Podcast Network. Also, please make sure you check out the Locked On Sports Today feed. It is 24/7 at your discretion. We're going to throw you over here as soon as this show's over. So go check it out and see who's talking right now. We appreciate your time. We will be live post-game with Matt Derrick, as we always are, to give you the lowdown on what has just happened. So don't miss that live with us. We appreciate you spending your time with us to this point. Have a great weekend. Get ready for playoff football with the Kansas City Chiefs and the Buffalo Bills. We'll see you post-game.